This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Hello and good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of My Wednesday, the Wednesday week podcast that introduces you guys to other like-minded Wednesdayites that love Sheffield Wednesday. I tell you what, this week I'm honoured. I've done this podcast for a fair few years now, and I've met some cracking people along the way. I tell you what, this guy, I think, he's top of the tree. He's a lot of you will know him on Twitter and social media, but you may not see his face that often because he don't go to matches. But Simon, North Yorkshire Owls, welcome, my friend, and I'm honoured to say that.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic, mate. How are you? Let's get the pleasantries. How are you? All good?
Good.
Cool.
I'm all right.
Cool.
I'm all right. Yeah. Yeah, getting there.
Right, so everyone knows the format of this show. This is where we get to find out what you, Simon, the Wednesdayite, how you become a lover of Sheffield Wednesday. So I'll not disclose your age because maybe I think you're a couple of years older than me, but take me back. Young Simon running around. Why Sheffield Wednesday?
Vast majority of Wednesday fans will be Wednesday fans because of the dad and or family members and stuff like that. Same for me. I'm a Wednesdayite because my dad is a Wednesdayite. And it's just I had no other option, really. If I wanted to go to a football game, I had to go to a Wednesday game. I think the way that my dad is a Wednesdayite is probably better than the way that I am because he got his team picked out of the newspaper. So he was bugging his granddad to take him to games. His dad never took him to games. He was more into cricket, and my dad wanted to go to a football game. So he bugged his granddad so my great-granddad bugged him to take him to a game. Great-granddad got pissed off on a Thursday or Friday night, opened the paper and went, who's playing at home this weekend? Looked back at paper, Wednesday were playing, took him to Wednesday, and the rest is history. So, if United had been playing that weekend, I'd have probably been on the United Week podcast or something this week. But, but no, you're stuck with me. So I'm a Wednesdayite purely because my dad is, and that's it, really.
That's obviously you alluded to it, but that's probably the most common that we've had, that you're a generational owl, I think they're called, or we like to call them. So, but that is, that's it, and that's how young owls become owls, and that's how probably for generations and generations, as long as the club's still around, that's probably what's going to happen. Take me back if to your first game, if you can remember. So, can you remember the game, score, anything particular about it?
Well, I'll tell you what, right. So my first game, let's see if you can guess what my first game is, right? So my first game would have been, it's probably, I would say, in the top 5 ever Chef Wednesday games ever.
Boxing Day.
Yeah.
Was it?
Boxing Day, Massacre, 1979, was it 1979?
Yeah, 1979. Yeah.
So, that was my first ever game. My mum and dad lived at South Kirby. My mum worked in a boozer. My dad worked for Woolworths down there, I think. And some United fans were going to the game, and my dad tagged along because they managed to get him some tickets in Omen. I don't know how they did it, but he ended up taking me. But the worst thing about it is I have zero recollection of that game at all. My dad took me in car. He told me that on the way back, because we were with some United fans, that I was 5 years old and I was taking piss out of them over at Score and stuff like that. And I literally can't remember anything about it. And it's slightly embarrassing, you think to yourself, my first ever game is one of the best ever games that Wednesday's had, and I have zero recollection about it. Zero recollection.
Well, I'll tell you what, Simon, to make you feel even more better, I wasn't even an itch in my dad's pants in 1979.
Cheers, mate.
I know you would. I know. I see.
Cheers. I'm a lot younger than you as well, so win. That's a win for me, isn't it?
Win for you. Win for you.
Yeah.
So which say that's your first game, and obviously, like you say, it's probably one of, like you said, top 5 best. Well, in recent memory, we've had a couple of better ones, but that a lot of Wednesdayites always go to. They always relay, especially to the Unitedites. It's what. Moving on from that, then, can you remember? Which is the first match? Was it the week after, or was it or a few years after, or something?
No, it was the next one I can remember. Really, was an away game in 1984. So it's quite a distance away, and we went to Liverpool. Away, and the reason why I remember it so vividly is not because of the game. I think. Looking back, Wednesday won. But it was the fact that my dad had one of them, you might not remember, but if you ever watched a cop show from the 80s, they always had these Rovers, these Rover cars. And they had like a front end that were like probably the same size as a semi-detached house nowadays. But my dad had one of them Rover cars. And we were driving back, and his mate that had come with him went to top the oil up and didn't put the bloody cap on it. So halfway across M62, car blew up, and then there were oil all over the bloody shop. And that's what I remember about it. I also remember getting told off because, I'm a man that doesn't eat salad, and I think that I started not eating salad from a young age, and I was just more interested in having something to eat and, having a drink rather than watching game. And then because I'd had quite a lot to eat and drink, I wanted a toilet, and my dad were like, I spoke to my dad about it recently, and he was like proper pissed off because he just wanted to stand and watch game, whereas I were more interested in getting something to eat and then going to the toilet. But I remember that game as well. So around about that sort of time that I remembered it really.
I imagine you go through that. We've both got young ones, so I imagine you go through that now. When the little one goes, Dad, I just need to go to the toilet. I've had too many Haribos and Diet Coke or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but I just want to watch this. So it's flipped in respect to that now, going to the match for you, isn't it?
It has. So, I've started taking Maisie this year. So she only went to a third game at weekend. And what was funny this weekend is I went for a drink at half time. So I got her some water and a bottle of water. And I got a Bovril, which is standard, isn't it?
Yeah.
So then she'd never heard that being mentioned before. And as we were walking away, she went, What's that you've got in that cup? And I went, Bovril. And she went, what's Bovril? And I went, well, it's a bit like watery gravy. And she just looked at me with this look of disgust and went, you're drinking gravy? And I went,
that's it.
I went, yeah, come on, second half starting now. Let's rock on.
Yeah, I have the same. I'm sure that's a generational thing because I have that with my son as well. He turns his nose up. But I can't beat it. Can't beat it. So, Liverpool away. I've not been myself. It's one of the grounds I haven't been to all them years of 84. What's been so? Obviously, you're coming up 84. You're coming up to the late 80s, early 90s is when apparently football just started. 92, weren't it? Because nothing ever happened before that.
No, nothing before that.
So you got something called the Premier League. So were you an avid visitor to Hillsborough when you were younger? Or was it a treat, or sometimes not a treat, or a punishment, should we say? Yeah, well, the thing is, my parents were in the pub trade, so weekends, Saturdays, and stuff like that were just absolutely manic for my parents. So I didn't really used to go that often. We'd pick up the occasional game or a midweek game and stuff like that. And it weren't until I were about 14, and we lived in Ponty, and I started going on my own, which nowadays sounds a bit daft because, I don't know if you can remember, but them were the days before mobile phones or anything like that. So
like at 14, my dad had dropped me off at Ponty train station, get train from Ponty to Leeds, Leeds to Sheffield, get the football specials down to the ground, watch the game again, then get the specials back into town and come back all on my own. And so that's like early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. I used to do that on my own, but it would only be like probably about half a dozen games a season. But yeah, my dad never really took me. So after it took me to some trips and stuff like that. I mean, obviously we did Wembley together, did a couple of games, but when I wanted to go, it was more like going on my own because I grew up in West Yorkshire and there weren't that many Wednesday fans around in West Yorkshire. I think I was only one in my school when I went to school. Like they're all like Leeds fans. Hence why I've got a larger dislike for Leeds than I have Sheffield United.
Yeah. Then your average Wednesdayite as well, probably.
Yeah.
So early years then for yourself then, Simon. Right. So posters on the wall.
Posters, them?
Posters. No. When you were a youngster.
Right.
Was it shoot and match? Did they have them in your day?
Definitely match. Yeah, Definitely match. Shoot were for weirdos. They were always
okay.
match.
I'll move on.
Were you a shoot boy?
I was whatever I could get. I'll tell you the truth. It wasn't. I've mentioned doing this show many times. My history with Sheffield Wednesday, and I was very sporadic to Hillsborough. Didn't really go. The odd occasion with my old man type of thing. He wasn't massive into football, unless it was on the telly type of thing. So yeah, match. I was there. So let's go. So you're saying, you're talking 93, 94, 18, 19. So you get into the better times in the newer generation. So were there any players that you stood out for you? I mean, a stupid question over your left shoulder there.
Nielsen and Sheridan. I mean, Nielsen for me was. I mean, Sheridan was class. Sheridan was absolute genius, you know. And I think if you ask any Wednesdayite to name their favourite players, if you're over like 30 odd years old, you know, you're going to have Nielsen, Sheridan, Waddle, Hurst in there. And for me, Sheridan were great, but I just love Nielsen because 8.5% out of 10 every single game. He always, you know, that was his minimum, you know, and I just thought it was great. I just thought it was fantastic. I was gutted when he were left, you know, and then he came back to Coventry and I was like, I thought you left us because you were homesick and now you're
homesick
in Coventry.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Sheridan was just mint as well. I just loved Sheridan. And then obviously I got shirt behind that I got signed and I got that done about like 3 years ago, something like that, 2.5 years ago. And it was weird because, you know, I'm mid-40s then and I've got that shirt and I saw John Sheridan. I knew where he was going to be for this charity cricket game. So I thought, I'm going to take this shirt and get it signed. But then I saw him and I'm like, went to being like 14, 15-year-old again. I went, excuse me, can you please sign me? Thank you for 1991.
Yeah. And he'd probably heard it a billion times before.
Yeah.
And just like, cheers, there's. So,
from fat old men with grey beards. But it's weird.
One of my best ever episodes or doing this podcast was Lockdown Live that we had Nielsen on. Roland Nielsen, having a chat with him for an hour was an absolute dream. And for anyone that didn't know, it was Simon that set it all up for us for the podcast.
Yeah, you had more success with that. You had more success with that than I did having that shirt signed, didn't you?
yeah. So a big thanks to Simon for that. But yeah, absolute gentleman. What a guy.
Yeah,
and it was just great to talk to him. We didn't meet, obviously. It was over lockdown, but they'd say don't meet your heroes. But sorry, I spoke to one. And it was great. So I'm not ashamed in putting that on here because it was fantastic. And really, it was a highlight for me. It was like that era of early 90s going up to mid 90s. It was a purple patch for supporters. Obviously, we had trips to Wembley. We had some of the names that played for us back in the day was outstanding.
Yeah.
You were obviously getting towards
The
adulthood as well. You know, you're getting older. Yeah. So it was like, were they, like you mentioned about getting Sheringham signed, were you that interested or bothered about the players, as in like you are now, but it's a nostalgia thing? You know, like you said, some of the players we'll get on to later, some players that you are like obsessed with. I will say that. Was that an early thing for you, or is it just because of you getting older, you're getting big, softy, and
Probably because I'm getting a big softy. I think back then, you know, you didn't think it were going to end. You know what I mean? You're like, we had the 90s, early 90s, it just got better. And then, you know, we had Di Canio and Carboni and Des Walker and people like that. And you just thought, this is mint. This is just going to carry on. And the Premier League started. We'd finished third and fourth and stuff like that. And you just thought it were going to carry on. So you just sort of, in a way, took them players for granted. And it's not now until you look back and you go, fucking hell, we had some proper players that would be worth millions now, absolute millions in today's market. But I just thought it were going to carry on. And I think the turning point was when we started with Scott Oakes. When we started signing people like Scott Oakes, you're like, oh, I mean, note against Scott Oakes, like, but you just think
you've just outed him there. You've just shouted him out there. I'm sure he doesn't listen to the podcast, so he probably not. But someone will probably tag him on Twitter or something.
And if he does, I'm sorry. Somebody will. You're right.
So sorry, Scott. According to Simon, you were the downfall of Sheffield Wednesday in the late 90s.
I won't go as far as that. Well, it wasn't the full downfall. Maybe the start of it.
No,
maybe the start of it.
Yeah, the decline. But it was like I say, you mentioned the names you've done, and if Chelsea was about, then it'd be Mr. Bowley would have spent more than $1 billion on half of them. I would imagine. To get that sort of player, like the Rolls Royce players you've just mentioned, and we as Wednesdayites, we always go back to the early 90s. You know, the term legend, because of not just of what they achieved at Wednesday. I think it's the standing that they were at the club as well. The types of player, like you said, Des Walker, bringing him back from Italy, Waddle, Hurst, who could have gone to numerous teams, Man United in one, turned them all down. It was great. It was a great time. We always look back on them fondly, don't we?
Yeah, and the thing is as well is you sort of like turned up at Hillsborough and you weren't scared of anybody. You know, Liverpool turned up, not bothered. Man United turned up, not bothered. We'll shit them. You know, we went 1-0 down against teams and you just thought, it doesn't matter. We'll come back and win 2-1 or 3-1. And you didn't sort of have that. Well, I didn't anyway. I didn't have that negativity. You know, I went to a game in '98 with some lads that were Man United fans when I was a chef, and we brought them, and we just thought, well, we'd give them a game or whatnot, but we ended up beating them. And if I remember, they had like 4 strikers on at the end. They had like McClare on and Andy Cole or Sheringham, whatever. I can't remember.
Hughes.
Hughes, maybe, yeah. But they brought on like 4 strikers, and Wednesday still beat them, you know? And it's just like, back then you just thought, whoever comes, we'll have a chance. We'll have a chance of beating them. Which was different to how it has been over the last few years, bar the Carlos 2015-16 year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's the break in the caliber of players to go from, let's say, late 90s, 2000s, then from early 2000 onwards, the players that we could attract for various reasons, whatever it was, on and off the pitch, just weren't the way. And like I said before, that's you always go back to like winning teams and how teams played. And a lot of people that I've spoke to on this and the other guys when they've interviewed fans, the favourite players most generally are from the early 90s because of what. Luckily, I mean, we've interviewed the older age of people. We have had a mixture of them, but a lot of people are older who do fondly remember the team of 91, 93. So
yeah,
I mean, they were, mate. So we're gonna move up now. We're gonna get into the what's the, I don't know what the word I was trying to find. Just the later years. So we're coming
Yeah.
up to, like you mentioned, Carlos. So that is probably, for me, one of the last times that I really felt something apart from last season, positive and so close. Obviously losing out to Hull. I mean that squad, the team was almost perfect for the championship. The manager was just a couple of substitutions wrong. I felt from being
at the whole game. At the whole game.
Yeah,
maybe. I mean, you know, it was Lopez. He didn't bring Lopez on, did he, for that one? That's the one that grates me a little bit. But you know, we can't look back. I mean, the whole playoff final for me was bittersweet because my father-in-law and his best mate were Hull fans, and they were in the other end. So I come out and I was absolutely raging. But then I rang my father-in-law, I rang him about an hour or something later, and he was back in Covent Garden getting pissed up, and I was like, "Well done, bastard." So it worked quite bittersweet.
Yeah, it was. I took my lad at the time. He would have been 6. I took my lad to Wembley for it, and obviously he didn't know any different, so he was a bit upset and everything. But it wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't the end of the world, like I imagine for a lot of people.
Just remembered on the way out of Wembley on that night, on that day when we came out. When we came out, there were like a load of trucks or something. We came out and underneath the Wembley Way, bit around that sort of way to walk back. Anyway, there was this kid that were crying, right? He was proper crying his eyes out, and his dad were with him. And I just went up to this kid and I went, "Don't worry," because you know what? Then I thought Carlos would get another ticket. We'll be back next season or whatnot. I went, "Don't worry, kid. We'll be back. We'll go up automatic next week." And his dad went, "He's not crying because we've lost. He's just banged his head on one at wing mirrors at Lorry." And I'm like, all right. We're trying to be compassionate, and kids got a gash in his eyeball from wing mirror. I'm like, bastard.
So one of the players from that era, and I'll talk about him because I know, and every time we message, we see each other and thing, we talk about. But the player that you've got a lot of fondness for, and a lot of Wednesdayites have, just the way he's gone about his career, from obviously the adversity he faced, from retiring early 20s to coming back, and obviously being a pretty mainstay in the Wednesday side. See above your head there, Sam Utchinson. I would assume he's on the top list of top 3 or 4 of your favourite Wednesday players.
He's probably number 5 after, the golden 90s generation.
Yeah,
the ones that I've just mentioned. It's just, I just love him. I just think, as a player, he reminded me of what a proper old school footballer was. He'd go into tackles. If he stayed down, you knew he were hurt. He'd get back up. It was just, for me as a player, he was just proper old school. And I sort of like that about footballers. I like the fact that they don't roll around. They give it their all, 110% every game. And I just loved that about him. I just thought it was just every game that he played, you just thought, he's going to get booked. But there's a reason why he's probably going to get booked, is because he's putting a shift in, and he'll. You just look at that last game. He'd die for the shirt, and he knocked himself out and he walked off a pitch, and he looked like an absolute state in that Sunderland game, wasn't it? And I mean, it just was a great player. But not only that, he was a great person to boot. And luckily, I mean, I loved him anyway. I thought he was awesome anyway. And then I was lucky enough to meet him and have a chat with him. And he's just an absolute legend. I mean, I think it still is part of the pin for the pinned tweet, the pinned X. Is it a pinned X now?
Oh,
that might be another website, but
a pinned tweet on Twitter. Everyone will know what Twitter is.
The pinned tweet of mine is around mental health and stuff like that, and how you had to take a the break away from it. And during that period, it's probably not a lot of people in my mates know and stuff like that. I was close to not being in a really great place and not doing. Anyway, I was in a bit of a state. You know what I mean? So. It came about that I thought I've got the Nielsen shirt and the Sheridan shirt, and I've got a Waddle shirt as well. And Hutchinson's another legend of mine for me anyway. So I went to Club Shop, bought a Hutchinson shirt, and as anything with me, something always goes wrong. So I thought I'm going to go to Club Shop, buy Hutchinson's shirt, get his name and number on the back, get him to sign it, get him to get it framed, and have it in my office with the rest of these ones. So went down to a Club Shop with this plan, right, to get this shirt and then go up to training ground and see if I could see him or whatever, or then wait till next game. Went to Club Shop and I'm like, can I get Utchinson? They went, yeah, no problem. The only issue is we've got no H's. So they've got no H's for his name. And I'm like, well, I won't bother having name then. Just put number on it for now. And then I'll come back and get the rest of it put on. So I'm like, fucking hell. So anyway, I went up to training ground, and yeah, all other players came out, and then I saw him, so I went over and I went, look, can you sign this shirt for me? And I explained why, because obviously he was a legend for me, and then I just basically got a little bit upset because I was talking to him about when he'd gone on a podcast and he discussed about when he were really low, when he retired from football, and he thought about driving into a tree and stuff like that. And, I was in a similar position. And I explained that he was an inspiration because if he could end being a professional footballer, restart his life, restart his career, is basically an inspiration, and I just thought that not only is he a great footballer, it's because of that I just thought he's an inspiration. He's a great guy. So then he just had a chat with me for like 5 minutes about what helps him, what he thought could help me, and gave me advice on this, that, and the other, which I've taken on board, and I still do a little bit now. And the bit that really got me more than anything is when I was stood talking to him, his wife and kids pulled up in car park, and they started coming over, and he looked at him and he went, just go inside, I'll be about 5-10 minutes, don't worry, just go inside and I'll come and catch you in a bit. And then they went in, and he just carried on talking to me. And then at the end of that conversation, he said, are you coming to the game on Saturday? I went, yeah. He said, well, you don't want that shitty replica shirt on your wall. Come and see me, and I'll meet you after the game, and you can have my match shirt. Hence why it's there. But that is another notch on his bow, so to speak, because just the fact that he could have just signed it and told me to go away or not even bother. He could have not talked to me. His missus could have come and he could have gone, sorry mate, I've got to go. My wife and kids are here. But he just spent a lot of time with me, and it just meant a hell of a lot. So yeah, the guy is a legend on the pitch and off the pitch, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, that's fantastic. That is, like I said earlier, you don't meet your heroes and stuff, but I mean exactly that. I mean, Sam Utchinson. If you're going to listen to this, mate, props to you. Like you say, you don't hear that many stories like that, dear. But when you do, it's fantastic. So Simon, I'm so glad that you had that 10 minutes with him, and it's just a shame that you've got the restraining order now, isn't it? So you can't.
Yeah, it did
again.
Yeah, it's when he gave me shirt at Charlton game afterwards, and I hugged him, and then after about 5 minutes, he said, "Can you let go now?" And then Stuart not washed the crowbar.
You've not washed since, have you?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, I've got the smell of sweaty Sam Hutchinson on me.
I did smell his shirt after giving it though.
Oh, mate! Don't think the listeners want to hear. Well, they probably do actually, but that fantastic. That, and obviously, like you say, the shirt there, you've got it framed. It's above in your office there. It means a lot to you, and I can see just by a lot. You've got a lot of artwork and a lot of pictures and things like that. It's good to see, mate. Right, let's. Right, we've had the happy times. We've had you personal story there and everything. Let's bring it bang up to date.
Yeah.
Let's get a bit
Not this
sad, shall we?
season.
Well, not quite this season. We're gonna huddle up about 9 weeks or whatever it is. So
Wembley or Peterborough?
Yeah, well, we're going to start with Peterborough. We're going to start with Peterborough.
Yeah.
So, people who listen to our podcast, we've mentioned it millions of times, and I'm sure all the other Wednesday podcasts have mentioned it millions of times. The atmosphere, the game, the whole situation, the absolute bedlam, and that's a word I've not used for a while. Bedlam in the Kop and all round the other three sides of Hillsborough for that night. Just give me a little recap on your evening for that night, because it is one of those where were you
once in a lifetime things, isn't it?
100%, mate, 100%.
So Wednesday before the game, I weren't going. So the game were on the Thursday, I weren't going, and it weren't until Maisie, who's only just got into football, turned around to me and went, "Dad, you can't not go. You have to support them." So that made the decision.
Was that because of the first leg, or because you were busy?
No, after the first leg, I bought my ticket, and then obviously the first leg we lost. I didn't want to go. I weren't gonna give my ticket back. I was just gonna not bother going. And Maisie then turned around and said, "You've got to go, Dad. You need to support me." I mean, she was 8 at the time, and I'm like, "Oh, all right." So I went. My mate Matty picked me up. We were driving. I'll never forget it. And I got to, I think we're about Wakefield sort of place on M1, and I just let out this, "For fuck's sake," like that. And he went, "What's up with you?" And I went, "Why are we going?" I said, "I'm only going for fishing." I said, "I'm only going for fish and chips for my tea," because we'd planned it because we had fish and chips before one of the playoff games. That's what we were going to have. So I'm like, "I'm going all the way to Sheffield for fish and chips. Peter, we're going to score first game, and then I'm going to walk out." So at that point, we're only going for fish and chips. First goal, I didn't watch penalty. When
Smith scored.
When Smith went up to take penalty, I didn't. I just turned around. There were like some lads behind us, and my mate Ray were behind me. So I just put my head on his chest, and then next thing he's like shaking my head that had gone in. Gregory's goal went in, and it was just a bit pandemonium, weren't it? And then you know, pyros on pitch and everything like that, and everybody going a bit mental. Third goal, Reece James is like everybody just went bananas. And the thing with the third goal is there was a guy that was sat. You know, like when you go to games. I mean, I've done it a lot because I used to go on my own. But you talk to people that's outside of you, or you converse. You moan to somebody outside of you. But this guy that were outside of us, when third goal went in, we turned around, both looked at each other, stared for like probably about 5 seconds, both went "Ah!" and then just hugged each other. Fourth goal went in. Alfie were with us with my mate's kid. I ended up on floor somehow, and he were on my back. I were on floor behind seats. And then when fifth goal went in, it were classic because obviously I went mental. Turned around to look at Matty and Ray, my mates, and they were just stood there like this. Like, no, what happened? I went, "What's wrong with you?" And Gibby just goes, "I've got nothing left. Physically and mentally, I've got nothing left. I've got no left to give."
That's it. Took it all out of him.
Yeah. Oh. And then obviously we went on pitch, and then even after the game as well, I just couldn't stop smiling. And then one of the other lads that's in our group, Robbo, he was in Portugal. And he watched it in Carvoeiro, in a bar in Carvoeiro, and he rang us, and I reckon he must have had 3 bottles of wine by the time he'd rang us, because he was slurring, swearing and everything, and he was just describing what happened in Portugal, and it was just absolutely hilarious. He said when fourth goal went in, when Palmer's goal went in, he let out this noise, and people thought there'd been a murder in bar because he was screaming, and people from across road had come across to see what were going on. His missus said she's been with him for his missus has been with him for about 20 years, and she said you let out a noise, and I've never heard that noise come out of your mouth. Like, what came out of your mouth then? And I've known you for 20 years. But it was just mint. The whole lot were just mint, you know. When you look back on it, I mean, pre-game was shit, and I was nervous and stuff like that. But, you know, when the goals went in and then it were half-time, like, can we really do this? And then when I was talking to people about it at work next day, I'm like, that what happened doesn't happen to Chef Wednesday. You know, and I think, it's quite similar to that voice note that that you put out of me when, you know, coming from 4-0 down, we don't do it. Scoring the last, like in injury time, extra time or injury time, whatever, 98th minute, whatever it was. I don't know, it was extra time of injury time, wasn't it? And, you know, we scored that. And then to go 1-0 down in
extra time,
and then come back from that, and then to win on penalties, it's just like, that don't normally happen to us. And it's weird that in old terms, because I'm an old lad, it's a Division 3 game. It's a playoff in a Division 3 game against Peterborough, and it is, without doubt, the best game I've ever been to. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And I was at Wembley. I was at Wembley in 91. That was great, but for just sheer enjoyment, game was just mint.
But it was, and it was. I was always going to the game. I never said I was never going. I went to the first leg away at Peterborough, absolute dire, and coming away from that, and it was, I would imagine 100% of people that saw that in the media, supporters, everyone was like, "That's it, done." We're going, and then as the week went on, getting to the game, it was like, but it can be done. It can be done.
Yeah.
We're not 100% out of it, and the swell of, if we get an early goal, if we get 2 before half time, and people were just like, and there was that little glimmer. So it was like early goal. Obviously got that with Smith, and the rest is history. Absolutely fantastic. It was, like you said, fantastic. On the pitch. Thousands on the pitch, and then the sign came up saying, "Please do not go on the pitch." About 15 minutes too late.
I've got a picture of that. There's like thousands on pitch, and then this thing says, "Please do not go on the pitch."
Yeah,
whatever.
I got on the pitch, obviously a bit slower than a lot of people, but I got on there, and the one I can remember was Ben Hennigan just walking. He's like 6.5 foot or whatever he is. He's tall, a lot taller than me. Just walking around with his hand on his head, going, "Oh my god, oh my god. I can't believe it," like that. And he's just walking, and obviously he didn't play, he was injured, so he was like one of the just walking around. But
what have I just witnessed? What have I just witnessed?
Exactly.
Well,
exactly
we were right back at North Stand, and when everybody went on pitch, we were all looking, and I went, "Are we going on? Are we going on? Come on, are we going on?" And then some of us were like, "No," and then kids were like, "Yeah." So because I'm Uncle Knobhead, I'm like, right, I was like Pied Piper with kids. I'm like, right, I'm taking kids on pitch. So all kids were coming and then dads came. But it's great because like the header for North Yorkshire Owls Twitter now is the 4 kids that are on the pitch with Cop in the background and stuff like that. So yeah, but it was just mint. It was just absolute mint. So it was class.
Yeah, we'll get on. Obviously, that led on to Wembley. We all know what happened. We've seen the videos, we've seen the clips, we've seen the commentary. I've watched it a million times. You've said yourself you've watched it a few times as well. I'm gonna talk about the games there, everything. I'm going to talk about what happened after the game, Simon, because I'm going to say somebody made you very happy on the way home. And there was a clip going around of you on the bus.
Oh, from John
on the posh North York. I want to be a member of the North Yorkshire Owls bus.
Hey, you know what? As well, do you know about that bus? If you're watching, do you know the Burnley documentary that's on at the minute?
Yeah.
Well, that bus that they're on, because there's a picture of it. There's a bit of them where they're celebrating all on the bus. That's the bus that we were on. That's the exact same bus.
You posh bastards! Oh no, Yorkshire. I don't get that with South Yorkshire lot. I tell you.
No, it's funny because I don't know. Am I allowed to talk about that video that FaceTime?
You can say whatever you like, mate. We're not just give us an overview of what happened. You don't have to.
So an overview of what happened is that I knew somebody that might have been with all the players at the end of the game, and they're in like this big, massive room. There's players, coaches, family, friends, and stuff like that. So this person who shan't be named sent me a picture of this, and then in the background there were some players, and I was like, can't believe he's got in there in Wembley. I can't believe he's got in there. So I thought, right, I'm going to ring the bastard. So I rang him, and he red buttoned me, and I'm like, that's what happens when you go and live high life with all these posh people, all these players, fans, and stuff like that. Anyway, next thing, my phone goes, and his FaceTimed me. So his FaceTime is like, look at this, and he's going round and he's panning round room, and there's players and all that lot, and they're still in kit with the flip flops on and all that malarkey. Anyway, just behind him were David Stockdale, and I went, go get Stockdale, like that. And he went, what? I went, behind you, and I'm shouting, right? I'm on bus shouting, go get Stockdale. Next thing, he turns around and went, right, goes get Stockdale. Stockdale comes on, and we started cheering, right? But we were at backup bus, so there were probably 8 of us cheering when Stockdale were on, started singing the song. And that next thing, we went, we want another. And we just kept doing this. And he went round every player, as many as he could. He went, we got Jack Hunt came on, Windass came on, Adeniran, Fizz, Eorfa, Will Vokes came on. And they're all, every time they came on, we just started cheering. And then Pat, I don't know if Pato came on. But anyway, we're like, we want Bannon. By this time, because it just got louder and louder, and all bus started getting involved because everybody were just picking it up as it were going down. Anyway, by the time it came to Bannon, the whole of the bus, even at front at bus, were all looking just at my phone, and they could see. Then next thing, Bannon comes on. The bus literally just erupted, started singing, we've got Bannon, and he's put medal in his mouth and he's going, come on, like this. And it was just absolutely mint. It was just superb. And then that one, it was just like class. And then somebody went, we want Chansiri. We're like, no, end it. That's
stop while you're ahead. I mean,
a
fantastic day, and mate, I bet everyone on that bus was absolutely buzzing all the rest of the way home after that. Probably just topped it all off, did it not?
Yeah, it did. It was class.
Well, I know the person involved in that, and he is a thoroughly good guy as well. So
he is.
Fair.
I owe him a beer, I think, next time I see him.
just one or two. Right. Present day, we're going to have a couple more minutes, mate, because I've took enough of your time, because believe it or not, people, this guy's got somewhere to be, so I don't want to keep him too long. What's your thoughts this season, Simon? We've had, what is it now, 3 games, 3 losses.
Yeah.
What's your overall thoughts, and where do you think we're going, right or wrong?
I think they need time. I think people are kicking off a bit now, aren't they? It's been 3 games, and we just need a little bit more time. I think we lack something up front. I don't think it's helped by bringing players in late and not having a full pre-season. I think some of them look a bit tired. And, I think the thing that's come out recently is on Saturday, Mo Diaby, is it?
Yeah.
The central mid guy, he looked absolute class. I thought he looked really good. He looked a bit tired in that. But he looked really, really good. Typical what happens with us. We get somebody that's good, and then rumours are that is broke a bone in his foot or something. I think the rumours are today. But he went off injured, which isn't ever a good sign. And I think it's going to be a long season. I think anything above out at relegation zone for me, we just need to stay in this league, don't go back down, consolidate, start again. Whether people think that Cisco is right person, I don't know. I don't think 3 games is enough time for somebody to be making a decision to get him gone, because then you're just going to have to start again, aren't you? And transfer window's coming up. Let's see what happens before end of transfer window, because we've pulled rabbits out of hats before where we've got players in at last minute. I think like Hooper and people like that were transfer deadline days. I'm not saying we'd sign somebody of his quality out like that now, but we've pulled rabbits out of hats before. So it's going to be a long season. We are going to lose some games. We're not going to be challenging for players, but I think the thing for me, 17th, I'd be happy with that. Stay in this league, move on next season, give us another couple of years, and we'll be in playoffs, getting promoted. Fingers
Yes,
crossed.
exactly my thoughts. Exactly. I would take 20th, 19th, 20th, anything like that.
Yeah, anything like that. I think the difficult thing for me is, as I mentioned before, my daughter's only just literally she's only going to football on the back of the Women's Euros last year, and then she started playing, and then she wanted to go to games, and she loved it. I've got 2 girls. My eldest, I took her to football because I wanted to get into it. I think the first 30 minutes into the game, she said, "Can I have my iPad?" And never been to a game since.
Yeah.
This one goes to games with me, loves it, watches it all. She wants to stay till 90th minute, which is great. She did Wembley, and then after, you'll have probably seen pictures on social media where she went and met players and had a picture signed, a shirt signed and stuff, and she was absolutely buzzing on the way home. So this year's different for me. It's like it's different going to games. I mean, I've gone with all these lads that I know, and I've met them through going to Wednesday. I didn't know these guys that I go with. I think Robbo's the one I know. Unfortunately, I've known Robbo the longest, and I think I've met him about 18 years ago. But before that, I had no Wednesday mates. And going with them guys and having a beer and beer and that on the games on the train and whatnot. Going with your daughter when she starts getting into it, it's completely different. So she went on Saturday and they lost, but she still enjoyed it. That's the main thing. And probably take her to some more games this year. I might have to pick and choose. When don't want to take her to when we play Leicester at home or something like that. I'm going to get battered 6-0. So I'm going to have to pick and choose the games a bit better. But it's just nice that she's getting into it, and it's different when you go with kids, isn't it? I mean, my mates are great. The knobheads. I love them to bits. But the knobheads, but and going with her is completely different in a good way.
Yeah,
and she won't give me stupid nicknames like the tossers that I go with now, do.
Well, I'm coming on the other side of that. My lad's 15, so he's coming to the bit that he's being a knobhead. So he's getting. So we've got that. We haven't had like the best relationship or anything in the past. So football has really done great for us, and that's our turn. But he's gone from the 7, 8, and 9-year-old that wanted to wait for the players and have shirts signed and things to like now going. He's waiting like 15. He's got another couple of years to go to pub. So he's like, I'll come for a beer. So that's where I'm at with mine. Simon, thank you very much for joining us on this, mate. It's been fantastic.
No worries.
It's been great to talk to you, everyone. If you enjoy this and all the other podcasts and all the different things we put out, please like, subscribe, and all that stuff that all the proper people on social media and YouTubers say. Click a link. We don't do all that, but they're down here somewhere and all that. But hope you've enjoyed it. Another episode done. We will be back with another Wednesday telling us all about their history with Sheffield Wednesday. So, Simon, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining us. And we'll see you later.
Cheers, man. See you later.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.